Welcome to the Arsenal Tottenham Fan Podcast. Another week and 4 Premier League games to talk about. Rick, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thanks, Cal. Yeah, crazy time for Tottenham, man. Crazy.
Not a moment of boredom over in the north side of London
That's for sure.
far this past week.
Yeah,
With what went on with us and what went on with y'all too.
that is for sure. It's certainly keeping us on our toes.
That's right. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe, review, and rate us. Helps us get higher in the search so more Tottenham and Arsenal fans can find this podcast. And today we're going to be reviewing, we'll talk a little bit about Arsenal Man City. Then we'll talk about Tottenham and Man United. We'll talk about the Tottenham Liverpool game. And then we will finish it off talking about Arsenal versus the team that used to be known as Chelsea.
Yeah.
And then we'll do some previews for the weekend. Rick, how does that sound?
That's good, man. Let's do it.
All right. So we got to start with Arsenal Man City and what was really hopefully not a season defining game for us, but we have played great all year and picked probably the worst moment of the season to play our worst game of the year. But on the other hand, it's hard to know, did we really play that bad, or has Man City just become that good? So for the lineups, Xhaka came in for Vieira, and otherwise we lined up the same. There was a lot of talk in the pre-match discussions and time before the match if Arsenal should change formations or if they should find a lineup that removed Rob Holding from the field. We talked about that on our podcast in the preview, and I had thought that maybe Arteta might go to a back three to at least offer him some more protection and at least offer Ramsdale and our goal some more protection. Arteta tried not to do that, and I think that was really a brave move on his part. And I think it had as much to do with belief as it did anything else. To go to Man City and to win a game of that magnitude, the players must first believe that they can do it. Yeah. And with this being a young team, I thought Arteta put the same team out there to say, I believe in you guys. And how can he ask the team to believe in themselves if he doesn't believe in them? So I thought it had as much to do with that as it did anything else. As it turned out, I don't think it would have mattered if we would have played 13 players. Man City was just that good.
Yeah. It's just, you could have had Tony Robbins in the dressing room motivating you guys. It wouldn't have made a difference.
Well, I'm not sure we didn't have Tony Robbins out there playing in defense, but that's a whole.
But that's you might have been better off having him than Rob Holding, actually.
Well, you might not be wrong there. And so we're just gonna hit the high points with this game. The first high point for me, and probably the best thing that happened all game, was, you remember in the second minute, Partey cut in front of Haaland, and Haaland went through the back of him to try to get to the ball and kicked him, and of course, Graham Lasso, ex-Chelsea Graham Lasso on NBC, is immediately calling for a penalty on Partey in the second minute, which it wasn't because he got between Holland and the ball. But after listening to Graham Lasso for however long I've listened to him on NBC matches, I remembered that Peacock also does something called Data Zone,
Yeah.
where you can go and look at the data flash across the screen, and they do some data things in a side window. So I went there, so I didn't have to listen to Graham Lasso,
Good
and that
choice.
was
Good choice.
and that was fantastic.
Yeah. That's
You
always
know,
a good choice.
I'd never done it before. So the one good thing to come out of that game was my discovery of Peacock's Data Zone, which is where I will go anytime that option is available. And
Yeah.
Graham Lasso is on the commentary.
There's only one thing worse than listening to Graham Lasso commentate, and that's listening to Gary Neville commentate.
Well, we don't get Gary Neville over
No,
here.
that's true.
I've not had that displeasure, although I have seen some of his moronic tweets. Uh, but that is a whole other discussion. And about the only time I would have liked to have seen Graham Lasso would have been on today's broadcast, but unfortunately he wasn't there. Or maybe I should say, fortunately, he wasn't there. So really, the game came down to the 6th minute, and we are pinning them in their own half, and they decide to play long out to Holland. And this is where the whole game turned up. They play it long to Holland, holding rather, and I mean, it was not like it was a line drive ball. I mean, this was a high looping ball from, a 40-yard ball, looping high 40-yard ball. So rather than holding, try to get in front of Holland and cut the pass off. He stayed behind him and basically let Holland have the ball. He just wanted to keep between Holland and the goal. So, of course, what happened is Holland lays it back to De Bruyne, who plays it back into him. And then De Bruyne takes back off up the field, and Partey goes with him for 20 yards. But when Partey gets kind of near where Holding and Holland are, he hesitates for a moment as if he should help Holding with Holland, doesn't track De Bruyne, and Holland hits a nice pass, lets him run into space, and world-class finish. Starts it outside the post on the ground and curves it inside the post. And I've seen some criticism on Ramsey for that, but he's not getting to that shot, and almost nobody's getting to that shot.
Yeah.
And it's 1-0 City. So great finish, but also what it showed is that there's something got to be physically wrong with Partey, because he could not keep up with De Bruyne pretty much all game, athleticism-wise. And in the 40th minute, Ramsdale makes a great save from Holland, but it's Gundogan running through, and Partey can't keep up with him.
Yeah.
And Gundogan is what, 38 or so?
Yeah, but Gundogan, he's a bit like Mahrez in the sense that I think he's like a little bit of an unsung hero for Man City, Gundogan,
For
for
sure.
sure.
And has been.
Because he doesn't get the accolades that's all the accolades are being sucked up by De Bruyne, Haaland, and
Right.
Grealish mostly.
Right. But, what caught my attention is that Partey they're just running. and Party couldn't keep up with them. And that's not a good sign. So Party's not necessarily unathletic. I mean, he can cover some ground, and he just couldn't keep up with them, and that was a lot of the story of the game. Was they played way more physical than we did. They were way more athletic. They were way more physical into challenges, and we just didn't handle that particularly well. I mean, as far as the game state, I mean, it looked like they were dominating, and they were dominating because when they had it, they were so much more threatening. But in the first 28 minutes, the final third touches were even, and the touches in the attack and penalty box were even. So we had the ball at their end. They just did a lot better job of slowing us down and not letting us play direct. And we did an exceptionally poor job of slowing them down and letting them play direct.
Yeah.
And that's really where the game was won, because athletically they just took it to us. And they absolutely beat us to first balls, they beat us to second balls, and you can't win when that's happening.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I think as the game wore on, you guys looked a bit more demoralized,
Yeah, oh, no
for
question.
sure. But then again, look, what do you do? It's Man City, you know. Um, you know, unlike the Milwaukee Bucks, they're now reaching their peak, right? The Bucks reached their peak before the playoffs, and we screwed up in the playoffs, right? But
Unfortunately, I think Arsenal may have done the same thing.
possibly, right? But City, you can see. Although I watched most of the game against Fulham on Saturday, um, they did enough to they had a little bit more in the tank than Fulham did. But Fulham gave them a good game, a better
Right.
game than you guys gave them that night. You know what I mean?
Well,
But I think there was a lot on the line Wednesday night. It had been billed as the main event of the season by this point. You know,
and it was the main event of the season.
yeah, and
You know,
City weren't going to let you get out of there with anything other than a zero.
yeah, I mean, well, of course, we didn't get out of there with a zero, because, at least on the scoreboard, because we have soon to be target man Rob Holding in the lineup,
There you go.
who who finished with aplomb to make it 3-1. But of
Yeah,
course, Holland had to take the hairnet down, and
telling you, I told you, there's a championship team somewhere waiting for Holding and Eric Dyer. They're out there. They're just waiting for the pair of them, man. You get a double swoop on North London.
oh my God, yeah. But so talk a little bit about what the game means. City are just so much better right now than anybody else. I mean, granted, they didn't crush Fulham like they crushed us. But I watched some of that game too, and it looked to me like they could have turned it on anytime they wanted.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
And I mean, they had a 2-1 lead, and they were going to 22 pass moves, and Fulham couldn't get near it.
Yeah,
They, and, this may be, I mean, I definitely think it's the best team in the world right now.
for sure.
This may be the best City team ever in the way they're playing at this moment. Now,
Yeah,
the City of 3 months ago certainly wasn't, but they have kind of adjusted to having Holland in the lineup and how they need to play with him. And, right now they are just a juggernaut. I mean, they took down Byron like it was child's play.
Yeah.
I mean, teams don't do that to Bayern Munich like Man City did.
Yeah.
It also means City's going to win the league. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt um, that City are going to. I would be absolutely shocked if City didn't win the rest of their games. And if they do, that'll mean they finished out the year on like a 15-game win streak. I mean, what do you do with that?
You can't do anything with that. You got no
I mean,
chance.
what do you do with that? And it I- you know, I looked at since Pep has got there, the team that has finished third, the closest that they have been has been like 16 points to first. And, I went back pre Pep, there would be, a year where the team that finished third would be 17 points behind. And then the next year or the year before that, they'd be 11 points behind. And then they might be 14, and then they might be 8. But now the third place team is out of it in April, or March. It's Man City and whoever else happens to play great that particular year. And for the last 3-4 years, it's been Liverpool.
Yeah.
But, it's basically a one club league now.
Mhm.
And who's going to do anything with them?
Yeah. Well, how do you compete against, first of all, the money, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no getting away from it. Um, it is becoming like, the Bundesliga or something, you know what I mean? Like Bayern running away with everything 10
Oh,
years in a row, you know what I mean?
we are well on the way to that, unless the 138 charges by the Premier League hold some weight.
But is that the way we want to beat City, though? Do you know what
Do
I
I?
mean?
No. What I am hoping is that they hammer them with the transfer ban for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Because let's say, Arsenal want Declan Rice. That's no secret. Well, City could use Declan Rice.
Yeah.
I mean, he could back up Rodri. And it's 100 million. They could say, hey, Arsenal's our biggest rival.
Yeah. I
You
don't
know?
see that happening, but I know what you're saying. It's like, yeah, I mean, pretty much whoever they want, they could go after. There has to be a point where it's not even what you pay for the player. Look, they paid 51 million for Haaland, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you go, well, that's a snip, right? Because you paid 54 million for Carl Walker.
Right.
It's
Right.
not the transfer money. It's the
That's right.
800 grand a week wages that you're paying him
That's right.
that no one else can afford apart from PSG,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
No one can afford that.
That's right. I mean, they're paying him, more than we pay half our starting lineup together.
They got multiple players on 300K or more a week.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
just not happening
that's
anywhere
right.
else.
That's right. And, that's what I'm saying. If they want Declan Rice, they could go get him. And you couldn't blame Rice for it. And so I think first of all, if they give them a points deduction next week, you won't hear me complain about it.
Yeah.
I will come on this podcast and I will be justifying it as hard as I can.
Yeah.
And there will be no asterisk in my world.
No, I agree that they have to be punished, right?
That's right.
There's no doubt about it. It won't happen this season now, I guarantee you.
No, it won't.
Um, but they do need to be made an example of.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
I
It's
I
it's
agree
getting out of
wholeheartedly.
control. It goes back to the same thing. This is a whole nother thing. I won't go into it too much. It's nation states dripping in oil money. You can just come in and go, do what you got to do. You know,
Well, that's right.
Newcastle have done okay so far. Um, but it's going to happen.
Oh, for sure.
It's
For
going to
sure.
happen.
For sure. You
So
know, and and it's the phony sponsorship deals and that kind of thing that they're using to move money through the club. But hopefully, for the sanctity of the rest of the league and for the integrity of the competition, they at minimum get a transfer ban so that the rest of the Premier League teams do not have to compete with them for players.
yeah,
And then perhaps the teams trailing them can improve a little bit, and maybe we can get this thing back to a competition.
hopefully.
So there's another team in Manchester that played another team from North London, and I didn't even know that the damn game was going on
Yeah,
till I
you didn't
got
miss
your
much.
till I got your email.
You didn't miss a lot.
So it was a 2-2 draw. What happened?
Yeah, well, I won't dwell on this one other than the fact that look, this was our first outing since we shipped 6 goals on Sunday against Newcastle. So it was important that Tottenham gave a good account of themselves, really.
Mhm.
Um, and in the first half, they didn't. Um,
What?
it was kind of, not a term you hear a lot in football, obviously. It was a game of two halves, right?
So it was a
Um,
typical
but it
Tottenham game.
really, it really was. It was like Conte was still there. It was Tottenham a little bit lackluster in the first half. You know,
Right.
Jordan Sancho scored on the 7th minute, and I thought, here we go.
So was
Seven,
this Ryan Mason's first game in charge?
yeah.
Okay.
But the crowd, I got to give the crowd their due. They were great. They were just fantastic. Just got behind the team. Um, Man U stuck in their second goal with Rashford, and I'm going to pick on Dyer again because he has to be picked on. I mean,
Mhm.
Rashford just breezed past Dyer. I mean, if you see the game, the highlight of that goal, it's ridiculous. I mean,
Mhm.
it's like Dyer just kind of ran alongside him without doing anything. It's really, really weird to watch.
Mm.
There was nothing there. I don't know. It was just so annoying. Um, the second half, though, picked up. I mean, where was this team? It was like, okay, this is better on the front foot, pinging passes. It's like, where have you been? What is going on still? You know,
Yeah.
it's just insane to watch. Um, we got an attack. Porro scored a nice goal on the outside of his foot, and Kane followed it up with a nice assist to Son. Although I will admit, Son scuffed it and it went in, but it went in nonetheless. The positives from that were the second half. I mean, the team looked like they were. This is all I've got, Cal. I mean, this is it. This
Uh-huh.
is my expectations now. You know,
Well, it should be because Tottenham just doesn't show up
no,
early in games and certainly in the first half.
yeah. But the second half was, really was good to see. It was exciting. They were on the front foot, and you just wish, man, why can't you just? Where is that? You've
Mhm.
got it. I've said this before. Even when Conte was managing us halfway through the season, there's a good team in here. It's just waiting to get out.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Uh-huh.
And we're just not. We're just not getting out. Um, I mean, the positives that came out of that 2-2 draw with Menu were Son looked like he was getting back in form a little bit. Kane was brilliant just as ever because nothing seems to phase Kane. He just does his job.
Uh-huh.
And although I would admit it didn't really fill me with confidence prior to going to
Right.
Anfield. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So
Bec
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say because, Man United is probably not as good as Liverpool. Certainly, Man United on the road is not near as good as Liverpool at home.
No, Man United were terrible in the second half against us. It's like the complete opposite of us.
Uh huh.
A good first half, terrible second half. You know,
Right.
um, but yeah, the positives to that, like I said, was just Sonny looked like he was getting back in form. Kane was playing well. Nice goal by Porro. Um, Second half, crowd was positive. That's really it. That is it. And at this point, I have to take that.
Well, I mean, you got to be encouraged about the fans being good.
Yeah,
Certainly, Daniel Levy's got to be encouraged about the fans. I mean, obviously, the what changed was Ryan Mason. So apparently, the fans wanted to see Mason as manager, so they're getting
yeah.
behind him.
So then it was off back up north again on Sunday.
And I did see this game.
This game, if you were a neutral, this was a bloody good game. This was a good game.
It was a good game.
If you
I
were a
mean,
neutral, it was entertaining. You know what
I
I mean?
mean, I hate to say it, but after what had happened to us, I was not in a good mood. And then after watching like the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes of this game, I was
Oh, I'm
just
sure that
laughing
brightened
my
you.
ass off.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, well, at least we don't have it that bad.
Well, I'll tell you what this game did show. It showed why these two teams are not in the top four this season.
Yeah.
If anything, that's what it
Yeah.
did. But I mean, it had everything. Hitting the post, yellow cards, injuries, Jurgen Klopp's hamstring, everything.
I mean, what I want to know is where is Richard Keys talking about freaking Klopp getting right in the face of the fourth official?
Yeah, he's got to again. He's got to get some punishment for that somewhere along the line. You can't do that, man.
I mean,
You can't do that. Yeah,
I'm sure Richard Keys was too busy watching highlights of Arteta,
yeah.
um,
You know,
to
I got to
comment on
tell
that.
you, 15 minutes in and we're 3-0 down. I was just like, oh my god, not again. I
Yeah, I
mean,
was
no
too.
way.
I was thinking that it was going to be 6, 7, 8.
So did I. I thought it was going to be 4 or 5-0 again. I, Tottenham fans started leaving. Some of them started leaving, and Gary Neville did say something quite funny. Again, not a big fan of Gary Neville, but he did say something that was quite funny. He said, "Looks like the Tottenham fans are leaving again. The Tottenham players may need to set up some kind of direct debit account." Oh my god! I'll give him that one. I'll give him that. But this was crazy. Ryan Mason said when the camera went on to Ryan Mason and it went 3-0 down, you could see panic in his face.
Uh-huh.
Like, for
Uh-huh.
real.
Yeah.
Like, he was talking to his assistant, kind of biting his thumb and just like shaking his head like, oh, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect to him because at this stage and where that game was at that time, I don't know if anyone knew what they could do at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And he said afterwards, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a bit of fear at that point that we were going to get trounced,
Sure.
But, I don't know what was worse, Tottenham's defense for the first 15 minutes or Liverpool's defense for the other 75. You know what I mean?
I do.
It's just ridiculous. The first goal, the first goal that Curtis Jones scored, Porro is a great attacking wingback.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't know his arse from his elbow when it comes to defending. He
does
hasn't
not.
got a freaking clue.
No.
Which is why, Emerson Royale it's a conundrum because Royale is the better defender as a wingback.
Sure.
But he can't do anything in the final third of the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Porro has got an engine like Carl Walker
Mm-hmm.
all day long, up and down that, no problem. He's got a foot on him like Roberto Carlos, right? And he's an attacker. But you get him back down there in the penalty box, and he loses. You know, someone's gonna have to give him a compass because he's like he doesn't know where he's at.
Right.
And on that first goal, we've got two centre backs guarding Diaz, and Porro made the decision. Hang on, guys, I'll come over there with you.
I know. It was like three in the middle, and there
Curtis
was like
Jones was left
nobody.
there all in
Yeah,
his zone on the back like he was waiting for a bus.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that ball just looped over and it's a goal. It's like, why are you going in? But that's his defensive side. If we can iron that out over the summer, it'd be great.
Well, and that's why you got to play. I mean,
Yeah.
in all honesty, I mean, what are you playing for?
Hey, don't get
You
me
know,
wrong, Cal. Make the screw ups now because we don't care.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
You got to put it on film now so you can have some teachable moments. So
Yeah.
next year when you come back, you got him ready to play
Yeah.
because, like you say, offensively, he's a really good player. I mean, he may be the best buy that you made in the last two transfer
Oh,
windows.
absolutely. Yeah. Without a
The
doubt.
summer and January, he's the best player that you picked up.
For sure. Yeah. We can just iron the defensive side out and we've got ourselves another Carl Walker in the making in many
Mm-hmm.
ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Second goal with Dyer again. I don't know. Somebody on the View from the Lane podcast the other day said it looks like Dyer, like he got selected for the England team and then just figured out, well, that's it. I've achieved my goal for the season.
It was actually kind of funny.
Right? Because since he got called up to England, since the World Cup, this guy cannot play football. His decision making is, I mean, we've gone from him booting the ball up in the air backwards to his own
Mm-hmm.
goal,
Mm-hmm.
right? Scoring own goals, pinging the ball back to his goalkeeper,
Mm-hmm.
right? And on Sunday again, he let Diaz run behind him,
Yeah.
like just let him go,
I mean, and knew he was there.
and knew he was there. And I was screaming at the telly. I was going mad. I was going absolutely bonkers. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
It was like it was like a British pantomime. Behind you, behind you. Freaking A. And
well,
then, I mean, I don't know if he was watching the game. His passes, again,
yeah.
I talked about this last week when he was passing the ball to Son and to others when they were being heavily marked. It's like, what are you giving them the ball for?
Mm-hmm.
And he was doing that again this week. I really don't get it. Like, you're facing this way, you can see everything. That's your job as a centre half, centre back. You see the whole pitch in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? He either passed it to people that were marked or he just kicked it into like nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Or he passed it to Liverpool. Like, literally just gave it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Just insane, you know. And then the third goal, well, like I said last week, Romero, he's finished for the season. He's just polishing his World Cup winners medal, right? He's done. It's like, I've got my medal, won the World Cup, got drunk with Messi. We're all good,
Yeah,
right?
it sure seemed that way.
Because again, on the edge of the box, a mad tackle.
Yeah,
Just a mad tackle. It's like,
went sliding in.
yeah, it's another one. It's like, listen, man, you are a great, great defender. And we don't want to take away too much from you, but we've got to find a way to like round some of that out as well. But I don't know if you can without taking the shine off of his ultimate game.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
I do indeed.
Or at least just telling, okay, if you're going to do that, but let's not do the those bits where you run the length of the pitch and then scissor kick somebody, right?
Why not? He doesn't get called for it.
Right. Well, yeah. I think he's a
Yeah.
mark man now, though.
Maybe.
I
Maybe.
think so. So, I mean, the defense, that first 15, 20 minutes was like just hair raising. We've conceded 57 goals.
I mean, that is
That's mad.
incredible.
Well, it's going to get worse. I mean, we've got games to go. We're going to hit the 60s. We're going to be in the 60s, something,
Yeah.
low 60s for conceded
Yeah.
goals.
Maybe high 60s.
So, I mean, think about that. I mean, like the clubs at the bottom of the league, Leicester's conceded like 50, I think,
Right.
57, and Everton 50. I mean, we're conceding the same amount of goals as those guys down in relegation
If
battles.
you're conceding the same amount of goals as Leicester, you're not playing defense.
No. So, I don't know. It's 3-0. Lee Dixon's doing his usual, you know. Tottenham are crap, they're all over the place. They've been torn to shreds, but he was right though. And then in the 20th minute, everything changed. Like the game just changed.
Yeah. And so was that Liverpool kind of taking their foot off the gas a little bit? Or was that Tottenham kind of taking a little more ownership of the game?
No, the Tottenham took ownership of the game. And Tottenham's first goal was brilliant. Like
Mm-hmm.
Skip picked the ball up in the middle of the pitch and he pinged the ball that just split the back line to
Mm-hmm.
Perisic. And
Mm-hmm.
Perisic, I don't know what Van Dijk was doing. He had a dire moment. He just kind of slipped, like overread the ball, went too far, and Perisic looped it over, and Kane was there to bang it in. And Kane's goal was good because I don't think a lot of people gave him the credit. All he had to do was beat Alisson, but that ball came over in a loop and then bounced, and it was about 3.5 feet off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So Kane still had to arch and get right over it. I mean, really good technique too.
Oh, I
Um,
mean, it may be the best ball striker in the world.
oh yeah, for sure.
You know, with the considering the overall variety, left foot, right foot, head,
Yeah,
different types of. He's
I mean
good.
that was his 25th goal of the season, which equaled put him on an equal par with Wayne Rooney
Yeah.
for goals. There's only He's now one of two players that have only ever scored 25 or more goals 4 times in the Premier League. The other one was Shearer.
Mm-hmm.
The only one who came closest to doing that was Henry, who did it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I've said it before. If it wasn't for Haaland, you know what I mean?
I was at what's he 14 goals behind in the Golden Boot.
What are you going to do, right? I mean, it's just nonsense. And Haaland, he scored his 49th goal on Saturday, which equaled Clive Allen's from Tottenham.
Yeah.
And then he scored the 50th one to like break the record too. So,
Mm-hmm.
but Kane can't do anything about that. But again, it's Kane just doing his job when all around him is just like falling to pieces. He just does his job. I mean, this guy missed a penalty in France. The country's on his case. He come back not affected.
Mm-hmm.
I just not just. I mean, that's part of his athletic makeup that we don't really get to see. Is that mental, that Tiger Woods about him?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He just comes out and I'm just going to do my job. You know. And in this game, he was absolutely brilliant. I mean, we started hitting the posts. Romero hit the post. Son hit the post. It
Yeah.
was
That's right.
it
That's
was
right.
crazy. And then Kane got a great assist to Son, and it was 3-2. And at that point, the crowd was so quiet.
Yeah.
Except for Tottenham fans, they were all singing. And I bet the ones who left, I bet they were gutted that they had left. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
And at that point, I thought we would win the game. I
Well,
honestly thought that we going to chance to win because we owned that game by that point.
yeah, at that when it was 3-2, y'all definitely had taken charge of the game. I didn't necessarily think you were going to win, but you look good value for a draw at that moment to
Yeah.
me.
And then, of course, then we had the incident with Skip. Now, Skip was lucky that he didn't get booked for that foul on that studs on Diaz early
That's
on in
right.
the game. I mean, he
That's
should
right.
have got booked for that for sure.
But how that is not a red card is the Premier League officiating is just absolutely terrible. I mean, that is a red card. If you're not going to call that a red card, when you rake your studs down somebody else's face, and he had stooped 6 inches, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
he stooped.
at that point, um, now I heard some Liverpool. I saw some some forums and calling saying that Skip should have been sent off for his studs on Diaz. No, that was a yellow for
Right,
sure,
right.
and he didn't get anything for that, and he should have got a yellow for that, big time. But that incident with Jota, intent doesn't matter
That's right.
by the law. The law doesn't say it has to be intentional. When your foot's that high up and it strikes an opponent's head and you draw blood, that is that is dangerous play and an offense and a dangerous offense to the player.
That's right. If you're not going to call that, why have the rule?
Right. So
I
when
mean,
Ryan Mason was saying afterwards, I need someone to explain that to me, why Jota's still on the pitch, he had every
he,
right to ask that question.
he shouldn't have been. I mean, Premier League officials no longer want to make any calls. They're so bad, they know that if they make a call, it's probably going to be wrong. And they figure they would rather get grilled for non calls than
Yeah.
get absolutely roasted for actually making a call.
Yeah.
So they just don't blow their whistle anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's
And
ridiculous.
it's ridiculous. I mean,
Something's got to be done about that. I mean,
it,
he
let me
just literally rakes your studs down this guy's face. What is, if that's not a red card, where are we going here?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, why have officials? I mean,
Yeah.
there's no need for that guy to have a whistle if he's not going to call that a red card.
Yeah.
And I saw him hand out the yellow, and I'm like, well, okay, VAR can take a look at it now. And then, of course, with the new edict from what's his referee, Howard Webb,
Yeah.
VAR's not going to overturn anything anymore.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It is, and I am no Tottenham fan whatsoever, but that just galls me that that kind of play is allowed.
Yeah.
And did you see that there was a Twitter post going around where there was another incident where Holland did the exact same thing, and in a game earlier, and the Sky official guy, he's like, for the Holland one, he's like, well, you know, that you could see that's not a red card. The guy lowered his head. He really shouldn't have done that. And then on the Jota one, he's like, well, he's lucky to be on the pitch. I mean, it was the exact same thing. And
So
the official in the booth called it two different ways.
I can see, like, look, if a player's
You know,
gone down with his, like, down here, right? All right. But if you're still like standing and you're kind of putting your head down and you get that's dangerous play.
that's right. If your head has not gone down below where your shoulders would be, standing up, then it's a red card. I mean, if you stoop down low enough to where your head is below where your shoulders would have been, then okay, you lowered your head. But when you get your foot high enough to be above somebody's shoulders and you kick somebody in the face,
You draw
I
blood, and that player then has to go off. Something's got to be done, right?
that's right.
So, anyway, Skip goes off, and Skip had a great game. You know, I'm liking him more and more, Skip. But obviously, and I think people keep forgetting, Bentancur is
Mm-hmm.
still out there,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be coming back. Don't know when, but it will be next season, but maybe not the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. But so Richarlison comes on, and lo and behold, I mean, they're booing him, obviously. And we get a free kick. Son launches it in, and Richarlison gets his head on it and scores.
And how in the world that goes in is beyond. I mean, Allison's like 8 foot
8 foot, and it
9 inches
bounced
tall,
over him, right?
and it bounced over him.
Yeah,
And that
crazy.
went in. I was like, that is the luckiest goal of all time.
Yeah. But I couldn't believe it. At that point, I was jumping up and down, going crazy, which
Had to be.
I haven't done for a long time watching Tottenham. So it was
Ha-
great,
Had to be. Had to be.
you know. But then, in good old Tottenham fashion, it all come crashing down.
Just gave it away. Just gave it away.
So I think when was it? A couple of podcasts ago, when we were doing when I was doing Everton Tottenham game, Mora came on and got sent off again. Like funny enough, for a studs
Yep.
incident.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
question then was, why is Mora on the pitch? What is it? Why is he coming on for us now?
Uh huh.
What is he still doing here?
Yeah.
What I know he's leaving in the summer, but why are we bringing him on anyway? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing when he came on Sunday, I was like, why are we sending him on again for at this point? And then I don't know, man. I hear people saying again, well, he's not a defender and all that. Okay. But like we spoke about last week, he's a grown adult, right?
Yeah.
And he's a professional footballer. And at that stage of the game, when the ball comes there, as as they used to say when I was a kid, the coaches, kick that ball into row Z, right?
That's right.
Get rid of that ball. Just
That's right.
boot it out of there.
That's
But
right.
he did that Tottenham thing where it was like, no,
Don't
no,
pass it
no,
back.
I can control this and we can
That's
play our
right.
way out of it.
That's right.
You know, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, just such a roller coaster. I went from there to there to
Yeah.
kicking the cat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Had to
Unbelievable.
be had to be incredibly frustrating for Tottenham fans to have come all that way back and then just give it away.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing that made me chuckle was looking at Klopp holding his ass running up and down the line. We pulled
Yeah.
his hamstring. I mean,
And
you know,
what the hell was he getting in front of the fourth official for?
I don't know. So afterwards, he said about the ref. You know, um, the referee said something to him, was inappropriate. This has happened before at Liverpool with this same ref. He did something in a previous Tottenham game at Liverpool. I'm like, okay, this is like, if you're saying that the ref said something, then you have to say what he said.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't just say he said something,
Yeah.
right?
I'm
If he
with
said
you.
something, then you have to tell us what he said.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't just
Exactly.
say that.
Yeah.
The other
Because that's
nice side of this is the PGMOL. They need to change this too. They need to have some kind of conference. They need to put referees out there too.
hmm
You know what I mean? To just answer
well,
some basic questions. I mean, that might end up being a circus with referees after games, but
well, you know, they can't do anything until they get some half-ass competent referees, because
yeah.
what they have out there now is shit.
No, yeah,
Because
it's a joke.
Diego Jota should not have even been on the pitch to score that goal.
Yeah. No, totally agree. And that's what Ryan Mason said. I don't know. other than Klopp and half of Liverpool are the only people that would disagree with that. And we know how that goes in football. Would probably be the same, right? But yeah, in the end, it was disappointing to lose. But then you've got to go back and analyze. And I'm sure that, like, what Mason did when he got the team back in Monday morning was saying, this morning, a lot of positives come out of that game. Showed that, and Liverpool haven't given away a 3-0 lead since 1977.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah. Anfield's a horrible place for us to go. We get no joy there.
It
Ever.
is for everybody. I mean,
You know.
they are in second place. If you look at the table, just home games, they're in second place.
But, what came out of this, Son had his second game. This game, he was good. He was really good. Let's hope he's on his way back. I hope so anyway. But totally different player in this game. Running at the defense, shots on goal, look more like the old Son for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But for me, the overall takeaway really is something that hasn't been there pretty much all season, and that's a performance.
Yeah. I mean, at least your guys tried.
Yeah.
It looked at the beginning, and I don't know what it was, but at the beginning of the game, I was like, this is Tottenham not giving a shit again.
Yeah.
But somewhere along the way in that first half, you started giving a shit. And, I don't know if it has anything to do with Mason because you started giving a shit before you got to the dressing room at halftime.
Yeah.
But, you actually, I mean, it was almost like it was, fuck it, we got nothing to lose.
Which they haven't really.
Yeah. And it was like you just started kind of playing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they certainly did, So for me, it was on the whole, it was the performance. And from a personal standpoint, and I probably speak for most Tottenham fans, it was that feeling that you got again of enjoying watching your team play.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
Yeah.
what it's all about.
Yeah, and from a neutral observer, that was a good game to watch. I mean, that
Yeah,
was, that was a solid football game to watch.
yeah. So yeah, at the end of the day, it wasn't even points. I wasn't even looking at none of that. It really was the performance and how they played. And I think for us, it leaves us in, I think, sixth position, 54 points. I don't know where we're going to end up. Brighton are like knocking in goals now for fun.
Yeah.
They've got 3 games in hand. So
Yeah.
who knows where we'll end up?
Probably in that coveted 7th position.
You know what? If that's where we end up, then that's where we end up. We'll have to take it and send the boys out to play.
There you go.
We'll take it. We've got a lot of work to do, but it was much, much better to watch Tottenham on Sunday than it has been for a long time, even
I
though we
can
lost.
I can detect a small hint of hope in your voice.
Oh, always, man. Hey, the good point there, because I almost forgot. So, talking about that, yeah, as a fan and always having hope. Look, we are the ultimate brand loyal. All the market, and
Oh.
Cal, all the marketers out there, because we've spoke to most of them during our lifetime,
Yes, we have.
and they talk about brand loyalty for this place and that place. Yeah, you want brand loyalty, you freaking come and see a football fan,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, no question.
Because we're coming back no matter what. And it's like that game against Newcastle when the players gave back the money, which was a nice gesture. And I've always said reimburse the fans, refund the fans. But I've also always said, the players should give money to charity when they play crap, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'll just one last thing, and I'll just go further on that. Like as you said about having hope, that's what being a fan is. If you play like shit, don't reimburse my money because that's what I paid for, right? Whether you
Uh-huh.
play like shit or not,
Uh-huh.
you shouldn't have to pay me back. If you play like crap, tough,
Uh-huh.
right? I remember finishing work once. I worked in construction, right, in London. I
Mm-hmm.
finished work, pissing with rain. I got a bus, right, to the other side of London, right, to watch Tottenham play. It was like Wednesday or Tuesday night,
Uh-huh.
pouring with rain, right? The game finished. We'd lost 3-1. I think it was against West Ham at the old Upton Park. And the players walked off shaking hands and smiling. And I was like, fuming. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, I've got to get 2 hours yet to get back home to Southeast London. And you
Uh-huh.
guys are all smiling. But that's the part of being a fan,
Uh-huh.
right? So I don't think they should have reimbursed the fans, give the money to charity or something, because
Right.
that's our choice as being fans,
Right.
right? We pay the money no matter what. You take your chance. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you
Mm-hmm.
pay us, then we're like customers.
Yeah.
Screw that, right?
Rick does not want the business relationship. It
Not in
is a
football.
little too personal for
Not
him
in
about
football.
that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I want the dream and the escapism.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, the Chelsea fans are looking for an escape.
Good
You know,
lord.
and let's be honest, especially here in the United States, is there a more front running group of fans than Chelsea fans?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you what. When I watch Chelsea these days, I'm glad I'm a Tottenham fan.
Oh, no question. So I'm wondering, like another year or two of this, you won't be able to find a Chelsea fan anywhere in the United States. They will have all moved on to other clubs.
Oh, for sure.
You'll be able to go on eBay and buy Chelsea memorabilia for nothing.
Yes. Yes, indeed. You betcha. Yeah.
you know, so what a hilarious
It's a
effort.
shambles, Cal.
It's, I mean, and okay, so I'm an American. I didn't grow up with English football like you obviously did, like many of our listeners did. So while the Tottenham Arsenal rivalry is great, being here in the United States, seeing these Chelsea fans who were crap before Roman Abramovich bought that team, you couldn't find a Chelsea fan anywhere
No
in the
way.
United States before he bought that damn club. And now there's Chelsea fans all over the place. And I'm sure they're all like New England Patriot fans and, New York Yankee fans as well, and Duke fans.
Well, you go into most stores over here, you know this. Like when I'm in Chicago or in a major city and you go into a sports store, you'll see Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City tops. You get the odd Arsenal one. You have a freaking hunt for a Tottenham one, right? But and then you'll
Yeah.
hit the Real Madrids and the Barcelonas and the
Yeah, of course.
Bayerns. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. If
Yeah.
you want a Tottenham one or whatever, or a Crystal Pat, well, you're not getting a pallet. You're just not going to find one of
That's
those
right.
anywhere.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You'll have to buy a Barcelona one and just act like it's a
Yeah.
Crystal Palace one.
Just take the Barcelona badge off. Yeah.
That's right. So, um, at the beginning of the Man City game, we went with the same lineup. And the way that game turned out, and what Arteta said after the game is losing is okay, but he was ill because Arsenal did a poor job of competing. Arsenal lost the duels. And Arteta does not like it when Arsenal lose duels. So while I supported his, not making changes in the starting lineup because he wanted to show belief in the team for that game, the way that Arsenal played, he was absolutely right to say, I believed as the coach, and you guys didn't believe. So he made changes in the starting lineup. Didn't change the formation, just made changes in the starting lineup. He brought on Kivior for holding. He brought on Jorginho for Party, and he also started Trossard for Martinelli. And while, Martinelli only got 11 touches, so you couldn't really say, he did a lot wrong in the Man City game. Party and Holding both played like crap. And Arteta held him accountable by starting somebody else in this game. And I think that was a great lesson to the team as well. There is a standard, and if you don't play to the standard, your ass goes to the pine. And against Chelsea, it wasn't a huge risk.
Not really. No.
you know, so he could make that, he could um, make that move and not be in a huge risk of it costing the team a lot. And, for his credit, Kivior, I thought, played pretty daggone well. In the 14th minute, I made a note that he was making some nice interceptions. Now, one of the things Holden did to us is he made our play imbalanced because he would pass to Gabriel and let Gabriel progress the ball. And Kivior did a lot of that. He would get the ball and he would play it across to Gabriel, and that made us a lot more left-hand dominant than we usually are. And we didn't get the ball to Saka as much as I would have liked to have seen us do. But defensively, he is athletic. So he is far faster than Holding. He is far better with the ball at his feet than Holding, and he's about the same size, so he's not a small guy. So all in all, thought he played really well. He's a Polish international. He's played a lot of games for Poland, even though he's relatively young. So, pretty solid. And then in the 17th minute, we score, and a great goal from Odegaard, Xhaka, and to show what a shambles Chelsea is defensively. Xhaka crossed it from the touchline to the top of the box, just inside the D. And the ball never left the ground. Now, how can you roll a 30-yard pass into the penalty box and nobody is there for Chelsea?
It's pretty bad, man.
I mean, I'm like, oh my God, how in the world does that happen? But give, Odegaard credit for getting on to the end of it, slamming it home. I don't think Kepa was great for the goal either. It wasn't that far from him. He got a hand to it, but it still went in under the bar. And then in the 24th minute, we do what we do, which was, one ball played in behind Saka. He lost Chilwell or shrugged Saka off. And, Chilwell threw one-on-one, and Ramsdale made a great save. But again, we just get cut open. We will push up our fullbacks, and sometimes they aren't able to get back. And when they can't, we just get sliced open. And, Saliba was absolutely fantastic at getting back and stopping those one pass through balls. But Kivior hasn't been or wasn't able to do it in that instance, and Holding can't do it. So we just get when White goes upfield, we just get sliced open. And I didn't mention this in the City um, in the city analysis. But one thing they did to us is they were so good offensively that they played four at the back. I
Yeah.
mean, their fullbacks hardly ever went upfield. So we would get the ball, we would break and look up, and there was four guys back.
Yeah.
So we could never go in behind, and that's something I think Arteta really needs to look at with us, especially that we've got Kivior in there and Holden, is just telling White, hey, you're just not going to the touchline.
Yeah.
You know, we got to have at least three and sometimes four guys back, and just count on our good offensive players, our good five offensive players, to do 5-on-6 and score some goals. I mean, it's a lot easier to do that when you've got Holland. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, but we may need to do that. In the 26th minute, did you see the handball on Fofana?
Yep. Yep.
Of course, that's not called because that would require an official to actually blow his freaking whistle.
Yeah.
I mean,
But the referee didn't flinch. He did nothing.
of course not. He would have had to make a call. They do not want to make a call unless it is the most obvious thing of all time. Because if they make a call and it's wrong, they're going to get crucified. If they don't make a call and it's wrong, they don't catch near as much flack, and they don't care anymore about actually refereeing a good game. They just care about the shit they catch after the game. So in the 30th minute, Odegaard scores again, and it was the exact same goal. The only difference this time is rather than a rolling ball, which is a lot easier to hit, Xhaka sent him a bouncing ball, and you've got to give him credit for being able to keep that one under the goal. Raheem Sterling played, typical Chelsea defense and was nowhere to be found on that one. And it's 2-0. We're having all kinds of fun, laughing at that. Few things are more fun for me than laughing at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Laughing at Duke and laughing at Chelsea
Well,
are
it's only when
absolutely
the crowd are olaying against Chelsea.
in like the 29th minute
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Yeah.
Uh, and then in the 32nd minute, Fontana just pushes Zay Juice down in the box. Again, no call. And they didn't even show a replay of it. But Jesus is going for the ball, and Fofana just both hands shoves him in the back. Jesus overruns the ball. Fofana picks it up, makes a pass out. I mean, it was the most obvious.
It makes you wonder if the referee's just thinking, oh, get up, Chelsea are shit. Come on, you can beat them anyway.
Again, they just don't want to make a call. But anyway, and then a minute later we score. So and to make it 3-0. White with left-footed cross into the box and a great cross. Jesus with really good chest control. He passed it over to Xhaka. Xhaka got it caught underneath his feet and kind of scuffed it at the goal at Kappa. And then the ball came out to Jesus, who smashed it in. And 33rd minute, it's 3-0. And what's significant about that goal is it gave us our fourth player with double-figure goals. So that was Jesus' 10th goal. In the 43rd minute, a graphic came up that said touches in the box. Arsenal had 23 and Chelsea had 3. So, I mean, they were just non-existent.
I mean, who scored at Chelsea? I don't think any. Who's scoring for Chelsea? I mean, there's no one.
They did not have anybody on the pitch that had scored in the last 8 games.
Oh, my God. Wow.
Yeah. So they were horrible. A couple of things I noticed. Ramsdale, he made another bad pass. And then after that, he essentially just kicked it long the rest of the game. I guess it's 3-0, and he's like, "Why play with fire?" But he just started hammering it long. Um, Astor Laqueta absolutely took Jesus is on the end line, cutting in on goal, and Astor Laqueta just took him out. I mean, wasn't within 2 yards of the ball.
It's frustration, isn't it? Probably.
Yeah, just took him out. Didn't get a booking. The referee gave him a stern talking to. Just freaking laughable. Um, Chelsea, of course, score. Zinchenko with maybe the worst defending. I mean, he defended like Sterling did on Odegaard. Looked over, saw the player, and then just stood there and let him run off of him in behind. And Ramsdale was pissed. But not only was Ramsdale pissed, but Arteta was pissed. And Arteta sent Tierney on for him. And I thought that was absolutely fantastic because there has to start being some accountability. When you play like crap, doesn't matter if you're in second place, doesn't matter if you're in first place. When you play like crap and you defend that crappily, yank his ass off the pitch. And that's what Arteta did. And credit to him for that because normally when we have a lead, he would want Zinchenko on there because Zinchenko is probably our best player at controlling the ball. So he got Zinchenko off. Fantastic. So there's going to be some accountability. And then Asiliqueta, who he is in the running for my Golden Boot player of the year at the end of the season, goes over like he has been shot when Gabriel comes in for a challenge, and then they show the highlight, and Gabriel never touches him. And Astor rolls around, and then he jumps, and the official comes over to like spot the kick, and then Astor Laqueta like jumps in his face over not getting a card, and he never got touched when 20 minutes before he had hammered Jesus and didn't get a card. Anyway, so 3-1, Chelsea is just laughable. And did you see Conor Gallagher? So Conor Gallagher comes on.
When he got hit in the knee.
Yeah. Now, he hit Ben White. I mean, he went on, Arsenal passing around. So Gallagher just starts chasing the ball. It's like a dog out in the backyard. You throw the ball to your friend, the dog goes to your friend throws it to your wife, the dog goes to your wife. It was one of those. And finally, he couldn't run anymore, and White passed it on. So he just goes crashing into him. And it's like 4 minutes, there's 3 minutes into stoppage time.
I don't know what's going to happen with Chelsea. It's like just a sidebar on Chelsea for a minute.
Oh, please. Look, it's hilarious to talk about. And
well, I mean, from a manager standpoint, I know they don't have one, and they'll get a manager, but I think it's interesting because most managers that have come into Chelsea over the years have come in like turnkey, right? It's like they're firing on all cylinders. It's Chelsea. Well, now it's not.
It's not.
Right? So whoever takes that job, you've got a monumental task. You've got first of all, you've got to jettison a whole bunch of players.
A whole bunch.
Yeah, and I mean a whole bunch.
It showed their first team squad in the game. They've got like 8 more players than Arsenal. Well-paid players.
Yeah. So they got players that have got to go. There's players that are out on loan. That's a mess. Then you got to rebuild that team. So that's going to take someone. Well, they had someone that was willing to do that. Right? And they fired him, right? Graham Potter. Right? So what I'm saying is, it's like the Mourinho's and the Contes and what have you of the world. They don't like coming into those kind of teams.
Well, you know who they're hiring. They've
The
pretty much
Poch,
hired him. Yeah,
yeah,
they're hiring
Pochettino,
Punch. Yeah, he's coming
yeah.
in.
Although I know that's not certain yet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
he's coming.
yeah, but I still think it'll be interesting. I don't think he'll last long there. To be quite honest,
How could he?
no.
I mean, whoever comes in, it's got to find a way, first of all, to motivate those guys.
Yeah,
Second thing he's got to do is find a way to take that mishmash of players and make them into a team. And third, they got to find somebody who can score a damn goal. I mean, their midfield is not
that'll
bad.
be the easy part, right?
Shit, I don't know. I mean, who they
Well,
got?
no one on that team.
Lukaku? I
No,
mean,
I'm just no. They'll get rid of a few players, and then Poch will say, "Can you give me 80 million because I like this guy?" And Bowley will be like, "Yeah, all right."
can they? With financial fair play, can they do
Yeah, I
that?
don't know the ins and outs. Yeah, I don't know their financial books. And if they start letting some go, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think they're in kind of a world of financial fair play hurt. Um, because I really think they're going to have to get rid of a bunch of players.
But whether
And
it's Poch or whoever it is finally gets there, um, you got a lot of work to do before you even kick a ball.
that's a fact. And let me tell you, I am down for Chelsea sucking.
Yeah, same here.
I mean to tell you, it is freaking hilarious.
Yeah,
And I am all for it.
yeah, they've had a good run.
Well, I can't stand them. I couldn't stand them. And I am all for seeing them be absolute rubbish.
Well, I'll tell you what. If Poch is the one that ends up putting his name on the dotted line, that will put a tremendous amount of pressure on Daniel Levy on the other side of London
That's for sure.
with the fans, because the fans will be saying, "Why?" Especially if Poch does happen to like turn it around
Yeah, for sure.
and start starts racing up the league or wins a trophy or something.
That's right.
There'll be a tremendous amount of pressure on Levy, like for people saying, "Why didn't you just bring Poch back?"
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right. So you've got to like that, because,
Yeah, I'm not really a Levy hater.
no, I'm just saying, if he feels the pressure to field a winning team, then he's more likely to spend the money that it's going to take to do it.
Yeah, I would hope to think so. I mean, there's no doubt. I like what he does from a business standpoint, but there's been a lot of really bad decisions. I mean, he's been chairman for like, I don't even know what, 18 years, 19 years.
Oh, I mean,
And we won a League Cup.
mhm,
Not good enough,
not even
you
close.
know. So I get all the other stuff, the concerts, boxing promotions, uh, aligning with the NFL. Yeah, I get all that. What's the alternative? If you don't want that or that, then we're going to start looking at nation states to come in with the money. Well, then don't piss and moan about Man City and Newcastle.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Hey,
go ahead.
well, you got me on another topic. You started mentioning, other events going on at your stadium, and that got me thinking. Did you know Arsenal had sold out the Emirates for the semifinal Champions League tie for Arsenal women? 60 some odd thousand tickets for the Wolfsburg game that was played yesterday.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, amazing. And not giveaways. Sold 60 some odd thousand tickets. And Arsenal lost in overtime, or extra time, 5-4 on aggregate. Um,
Wow.
really a heartbreaking loss for Arsenal women. And did you know that they have lost their best four players to injury this year? and still were able to make the Champions League semis or go into extra time to go to the Champions League final.
Wow.
So amazing. Just
Amazing.
wanted to shout out
We don't even
Arsenal
have a
women.
women's coach, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, that. But and our Vinay, Arsenal CEO, said his goal is for Arsenal women to play all of their games at the Emirates. So that's what we're hoping is
That's
that
good.
the Emirates Stadium, can be hosting Arsenal women. And but the way that the Champions League is, only 2 teams from the Super League qualify. So Arsenal's not even guaranteed to be in the Champions League next year, which is, kind of crazy. Uh, so who does Tottenham play over the weekend?
Crystal Palace.
Hey, there's your derby. I like the Chelsea derby. You like the Tottenham Palace derby.
Usually a good game. Roy Hodgson's got the boys firing.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
that's for sure. They're
you know,
playing fantastic.
as as a Southeast London boy, as much as I like Palace, I want to see them going home with their towels between their legs on Saturday afternoon. Let me tell you that. You scurry back to Southeast London, boys, please. Um, I It's going to be a tough game because Palace are playing really well.
Mm-hmm.
Hodgson's got them going. I don't know whether Hodgson will stick around for next season, maybe. But whatever it is, and he's past the manager bounce. I mean, he's just doing his job.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
uh, if you remember in the season preview, I had them in a European spot because they have a good group of players there, and he's really freed them up to kind of play, and they're playing some good stuff.
Yeah. So I think we just got to go out and give another performance. You know,
Mm-hmm.
almost to the point. Forget the result. Just play for a performance. Play football.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah, I still think we can beat them. I don't know what the score will be, but I think we can win. We just got to put in a good performance. That's all that counts now.
Well, with you guys, it's which Tottenham team shows up
Yeah,
and
always,
how,
every week.
or actually, that 2 Tottenham teams are going to show up. It's just how many minutes each team is going to play.
Yeah. When are they going to show up, first or second half?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And for us, we're going
Ooh.
to St. James Park, and it will be the total opposite of what the game today was. Today was Sunday in the park.
Yeah.
We could have played that game barefooted today.
I don't think you'll be 5-0 down after 21 minutes, but I think Newcastle have the beating of you, though, at St. James's Park.
Well, I'll tell you,
Arsenal
have
at Arsenal, I would say you're in with a shout, but I don't know up there. I think they're just firing on all cylinders too, man.
Yeah, and I think that was another reason that Arteta made the changes that he made today, so that Kivior, especially who doesn't have any Premier League experience, could get some Premier League experience before traveling up to St. James Park and getting a load of that atmosphere and less bloody. I mean, I mentioned earlier about y'all that when you're down 3-0 to Liverpool, what's there to lose? Play football. What's it to lose?
Yeah,
and really the same thing with Arsenal. I mean, the chances of City losing a game the rest of the year are minuscule. I mean, they are just too freaking good. We've already qualified for Europe. There ain't nothing to lose. Let's go ahead and play some guys we might need next year in a hostile environment, especially Kivior, who we're going to need in Champions League. Let's go ahead and stick him out there Let's see how he does. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be an intense game. Arsenal's going to come out guns blazing because we feel like we got some payback because they ran all over us last year, let us know about it, and then rubbed our faces in the dirt. So when that happens to you, you got to stand up, say, good on you. But when you get the opportunity to put it right, you got to put it right. So this is Arsenal's opportunity to put that right. So Arsenal's is going to come out full guns blazing and ready to play. So it's going to be a fantastic game to watch.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, thanks to everybody for listening. Really appreciate it. Again, don't forget to subscribe, review, and rate us. You can follow Rick on the Twitter machine at ATF Podcast 1. Don't forget to hit me up at ATF Podcast 2. Rick, will you please plug the website?
Absolutely. Arsenal Tottenham Fan Podcast.com. All of the episodes are loaded up there. This one will be there before you know it. But if you want to go back on the library, you can pick out any one, kick back, open a beer, listen to any show, and follow me on Instagram at Arsenal Tottenham Fan Podcast.
Hey, thanks everybody. Really appreciate it. Come on, you Gunners.
Come on, you Spurs. We're back.